As public minibus associations continue to roll out their action plans for COVID-19 protocol enforcement on bus stands, each group of drivers appears to have adapted plans to suit their clientele. On Tuesday, our cameras visited the Leclerc bus stand, where operators are ensuring that the process is inclusive, offering sanitizing options for customers with sensitivities to hand sanitizers. Shaka Wooding tells us more.
Today we spoke with operators on the Leclerc bus stand for an update as to the protocols that commuters can expect when accessing their buses. Here's what we found out.
What we have done is that from day one we followed all the protocols that were given to us. We made sure that we have our allotted 10 passengers. We asked them to wear their masks, and we also sanitize. Our association has acquired hand sanitizers for us, and they give it to us free of charge, which we use to sanitize the hands of our commuters as they come in. As much as we can, we pull along, we stop safely for them to embark, and we spray their hands before they get into our buses.
The driver has also gone the extra mile by providing an option for persons who have shown a sensitivity to hand sanitizers.
What we normally do, well, not we, but I do, I have a little tube of soap that I issue to you, I give to you, spray your hands, and then you wash your hands with your bottle of water.
He went on to commend commuters for the continued cooperation at this critical time.
On our route, I must say that our commuters have been pretty cooperative with us. We have no issues with them. When it comes to sanitizing and wearing masks, they all understand.
Reporting from the Leclerc bus stand in Castries, I am Jacka Wooding for Hot 7 News.
Officers of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force have given a rundown of the recent crime spate that has been keeping the force busy during a sit-down with the press Tuesday morning. The police executive also gave a summary of the stats on this year's crimes, and Rochelle Gonzalez has the details.
The Royal St. Lucia Police Force has most certainly been busy over the past week, with a sudden spike in violent gun crime that has led to multiple murders in different parts of the island. Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police with responsibility for crime management, George Nicholas, sat with the local media on Tuesday morning to give a much-anticipated update of the island's crime situation. He began by listing the number of incidents recorded over the past week.
On Monday, 12 October 2020, about 6:45 p.m., police responded to a shooting at Leslieland, where Stevie Sharma, a 25-year-old resident of Leslieland, was reported to have received multiple gunshot wounds about the body. He was escorted to the OKEU hospital, where he was pronounced dead by a medical practitioner. A post-mortem examination has been conducted on his body on Thursday, 10th October 2020, that revealed the cause of death to be traumatic brain injury secondary to gunshot wound to the head. On Saturday, 17th October 2020, about 1:20 p.m., police responded to a shooting in Chinatown, Marigot, where Devon Emmanuel, a 44-year-old resident of Vieux-Fort, but originally from Marigot, was reported to have received several gunshot injury to the body. He was pronounced dead on the scene by a medical practitioner. A post-mortem examination is scheduled for 12 noon today. On Sunday, 18th October 2020, about 11:30 a.m., police responded to a shooting in Leslieland, where Ali Jordan, a 27-year-old resident of Grass Street, received multiple gunshot wounds to the body. He was transported to the OKEU hospital, where he was pronounced dead by a medical practitioner. A post-mortem examination is scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow, 21st October 2020.
In relation to a Jamaican escapee who escaped police custody at the Babonneau police station earlier this month, Nicholas said this matter is still being investigated and that Orville Purnell, who has been branded as a dangerous criminal, is still at large. Deputy Commissioner of Police with responsibility for operations, Milton Daisy, also gave an update on the matter of persons entering the country illegally, whilst he revealed that the investigation into the 6 nationals who were arrested last week by Marine Police is still still underway, he revealed that another individual was reported and subsequently dealt with by police.
Yesterday, someone was brought in from, it appears to have been that the person entered illegally in Grozile, and that person was taken into quarantine. The officers, as I said, we are busy at the points of entry, also out there at sea, to ensure that we capture as many persons as possible who may try to come in illegally. As we know, this is actually in contravention of existing laws, not COVID laws. We have existing laws which indicates that persons shall not enter without the permission of immigration or customs.
This male individual arrived on island 4 days ago. Dr. Mashama Seeley, who is the ACP in charge of territorial policing, gave the figures showing both good and bleak results.
A comparative analysis was conducted with regards to serious crimes for the years 2020 and 2019 from January to September. Thus far, there has been a decrease in all categories of serious crime with the exception of homicides, which increased by 5%, and firearm offenses. But the firearm offenses, it would be with regards to an increase in the recovery of firearms.
The officers revealed that persons found aiding any of the individuals committing the offenses listed above will face equally serious consequences as those committing the acts themselves. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
On Monday, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George was in a much more informal setting, trying to reach a demographic of the population who perhaps do not always tune in to official broadcasts and updates on COVID-19. The hot topic of the COVID-19 prevention and control legislation and its implications for the personal rights and freedoms of citizens was delved into by the CMO on this segment. It's the show by St. Lucian-based comedy stars Noah Sees and Derv Tufani. Genevieve Gonzague reports.
Every social media platform is inundated with information about COVID-19, and it can be daunting trying to decipher the facts from the fake news. St. Lucia has recorded 36 cases of COVID-19 on island as of October 19th. A host of various protocols and regulations have had to be implemented, such as the mandatory wearing of masks in public and the social distancing, in order to help control the spread of the virus on island. In an attempt to simplify and explain the need for the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Bill, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George assured that majority of the legislative measures in the bill are solely there as a precaution in the event that the COVID-19 situation in St. Lucia gets out of control.
A lot of our regulations are related to restaurants and hotels and barbershops, but we had to recommend things like zoning the country and suspending liquor license to reduce social activities, putting protocols for services like supermarkets and hardware stores. That's a bit out of our realm.
Yes.
So our regular legislation, as the Public Health Act and the Quarantine Act, it does not cover those. So it would mean if we now had to put legislation in place, we would have to amend about 20 pieces of legislation to cover from ports to zoning to liquor license. So all of those possible measures that we would need to put in place was put into the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act of 2020. So it would allow us to implement within a short period of time whatever measures, and these are done as needed. As if you go through the act, you notice that most of it is not being implemented as yet. Some of it, like the physical distancing, the use of masks, yes, but a lot of the other parts of it, we'd only put it in as needed, like if we get into a huge community outbreak,
okay.
Right? So it's used as needed. So it provides the legislative backing to allow us to implement those measures if they're necessary, depending on how the disease progresses over the next couple of years.
Dr. Belmar-George explained that contact tracing testing is free of charge, and individuals who believe they have been exposed to the virus or recently been in contact with someone who has COVID-19 are being encouraged to visit the 5 respiratory centers for the PCR tests. However, not all COVID tests are free.
If it's not related to a contact case or you're not sick and for travelers. So I know the hospitals, before they do elective surgery, they request COVID-19 tests. So people pay for those, and also if you're traveling overseas or persons coming in who don't have a test, these are the persons who would pay for the test. But if it's treatment and care because you were either exposed or you're being cared for, or you were a contact of someone, that is free of charge. But if it's for an elective process, or you're going to travel, or you're coming in from traveling, then you would pay for the test.
St. Lucia had been doing relatively well when it came to the mitigating and control of the virus before Case 29, with all victims recovering and repatriating back to their communities, as well as the fact that the country had no deaths. It has been suggested by some that the ball was dropped. By the CMO's account, individuals became too complacent.
We have a number of risk factors out there that make us susceptible to getting more cases, from our tourism destinations to the illegal entry of persons, our porous borders. We continuously on a daily basis get people coming in from places with very high levels of disease. Also, our people, although the response, I think, especially initially, was very good to adherence, but at this point, we notice a level of complacency with persons not wearing a mask. We've had a lot of mass crowd events, a lot of parties, a lot of activities with a lot of people from all over. So all of this increases the possibility of transmitting the disease.
That's what's up.
So the high risk will make us susceptible to getting another wave of coronavirus.
The public is reminded that they are to remain on high alert and ensure that all the necessary measures are undertaken to reduce the risk of being exposed to COVID-19. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
The Education Minister is appealing to criminals who target students and rob them of their money, electronics, and even school supplies to have a heart and spare them in these hard times. Meanwhile, the head of Territorial Policing, Dr. Mashama Seeley, says the police force will make provisions to ensure greater safety of the youngsters.
At a time where jobs are scarce as the COVID-19 pandemic has flung the entire globe into financial hardship, it is expected that petty crime and theft would be on the rise. However, what does one say when the targets are young school students? Well, this has been the recent case on Ireland, particularly in the north, where youngsters have been subject to hold-ups and are robbed of their lunch money, and in many cases, even their school bags containing their school supplies. This matter hit a sore spot for Education Minister Dr. Gail Rigobert, who on Monday sent out a message to the perpetrators of such crimes, asking them to have a heart.
One of the things that we've asked of the public is really to have a sense of compassion and empathy and to not target students. Students are innocent, young children just wanting to have a decent education. We should not prey on them. And I really want to appeal to the public, especially at this time, to not target our students. Our students have enough to deal with already, and I would hate to think that there are unscrupulous citizens out there who see them as easy prey. Please, not at this time especially.
Also addressing the matter was Dr. Mashama Seeley, who is the ACP in charge of territorial policing. On Tuesday morning, she said this matter will be looked into and addressed.
These reports have not been brought to our attention. So this is the first time that we're hearing of them, so we're going to have some investigations conducted. But yes, when school reopens, we will increase our patrols to ensure that the students as well as the citizens in St. Lucia remain safe.
Thankfully, no child has been hurt in the process. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's much more after the break.